Alright, welcome back everybody. Yes, the door is still here, and no, it's not aligned yet. I'm going to move on to the other door as far as getting the internals done on that, just to kind of switch things up here a little bit and not become frustrated. I do have a path ahead on this, I hope, that I'll share with you here as the video goes on. And yeah, so that's the plan, at least for a little while. We'll see how it goes. Going to make a little pitch here for tools. You guys know that I use Harbor Freight stuff, and I don't mind using their stuff at all, especially if I need something fast or if it's a one-use item, that's fine. But for my higher quality stuff, wrenches, screwdrivers, things like that, I went with a company called Tecton. Now they are a Chinese company, but the tools are pretty nice, and they do have American, at least factories, or maybe not factories, but at least distribution points. But case in point, when I was playing with my boot lock and trying to get that lock out of there, if you remember, I was struggling with that. I stuck this screwdriver in there and twisted and snapped the tip right off. So got home, took a picture of the brake and sent it the email to Tecton. They have an automated thing online. That evening I got a confirmation email that the new screwdriver was on its way, and probably 2 or 3 days later via the US Postal Service I had a brand new screwdriver. So if you want some quality tools, probably half a step up from Harbor Freight, a couple steps below Snap-on, but who's got the money for that? I recommend these guys. So one thing I forgot to do on the other side is put in the door check strap rubber seals. They just sit over the top of the check strap like that, just provide a little bit of a seal. And one thing that Triumph did sometime early in the production run of the cars, I don't know if it was a Mark II or a Mark I transition, they went from actually screwing with sheet metal screws, screwing this in, you can see the holes in it, to these clip things, which I just absolutely hate. Hard to get on, hard to get off, they scratch the paint every time you do it. So I'm going to deviate from originality here and actually screw these things on. So I'm going to line it up, mark holes in the side of the door, have a really, really small drill bit, and little itty bitty sheet metal screws, these little guys right here, and I'm just going to drill holes and make it work instead of trying to fish those clips in there and curse and everything else that would come from that. So there's not a whole lot of room from where the holes are on the rubber, but there's definitely enough room behind here to be able to put these things in. So as you can see there, you don't have very much distance at all, maybe 1/10 of an inch. Yeah, about 1/10 of an inch from the edge of the steel to where I'm going to drill the hole. Now the hole is really small, so that should give me enough room, but I'll go ahead and pop the little guide holes in here and then just use a hand drill and screw it in, get it drilled out, and then put the thing in. All right, there you go. Doesn't need to be real tight. And as a matter of fact, the more you tighten it, it'll tend to kind of start to flare out a little bit. So who knows, maybe that's why they went to the clips. But it works, and it's a heck of a lot easier than the clips. Moving along on the passenger side door here, I've got the trim piece in. The waist seals now is going to be what's next. This is the one that seals the window. This is the one that the fuzzy that kind of protects the glass, I guess, and the glass comes up and gets kind of pinched between those two. This keeps rainwater out of the door. Now this is long on both ends, and it was for the driver's side as well. If you look, you can see those parts. It's kind of formed here a little bit, and on the door itself there's little grooves at either end. So essentially what I'm going to do is center this up to make sure that I don't overcut one side or the other, mark it and cut it. Now this has got a metal band in it. It's just a real thin sheet of metal that goes all the way down this, so when you cut it, you gotta make sure that you're not bending and doing damage to the metal and everything, so that you don't wreck the rubber and all that kind of stuff. But it's just simply measuring up. Now this one here, the fuzzy seal usually fits just fine, and I didn't have any problems with the other door, and it looks like it's going to fit just fine on this door as well. Moving along pretty well with the door here. I've got all the window guts in there, not the window yet. I've got the seals for the window, the burst plate and the actuator for that. Got the window crank, all that kind of good stuff. Two things I want to show you real quick. First is this connection in here for the internal door mechanism. So some of this stuff I showed you in my last video with how the burst plate and all that kind of stuff works. So here, this is all the burst plate stuff. This guy coming in right here, this is from the internal door handle. So you stick that clip down in there. This lever kind of moves out of the way here. And then you've got this collar and the little spring clip there that'll put these together. I'll put these together here real quick, show you. And as I pointed out to you last time, when you want to open the door, you go like this and you can see that moves that, and if the door was actually shut, that would undo the burst plate. When you want to lock it, you can move it like this and the whole thing will turn. So there are 3 screws that hold this burst plate on them. I've got 2 of them here. You can see the obvious difference in size between the 2. Now if you put the wrong one in and use the longer one into this hole here where the lock goes in, you can see that that screw sticks out pretty far, and if you go to lock it, it's going to interfere with that guy. So ask me how I figured that one out. So you put the shorter one in, now when I go to lock it, you can see it allows me to do so. And then if I want to open it, I can still open it. When I did the door guts video, I struggled with the spring here, and I think you guys know that I struggled with the spring and wasn't quite sure what I was doing, and I finally figured out this time. I kicked myself that I didn't figure it out on the driver's side door, because now I got to take the darn thing apart again. But you almost preload the spring, and I just kind of sat here and thought about it and looked at it. So now the spring is loaded, and it's continually loaded when you wind the window. So now I'm winding the window up, and that's actually compressing the spring. Give it a little bit more light there. So that's actually compressed the spring, and then when I put it down, it decompresses the spring. It goes down very easy. So that's an interesting fix there that I have to do on the driver's side door now, unfortunately, which means I've got to take at least the glass out and probably the internals out so I can preload this thing. So I'll, if I have it in me tonight, I'll show you how I'll do that. Well, as the song goes, for the first time in forever, both doors are back on. So the passenger side door, I didn't do any alignment whatsoever, just got it on there. And it's essentially exhibiting the same stuff that I remember before. That the gaps are better over here until you get to the bottom. And then it stands real proud, big heavy flare out. And I really wasn't able to do anything about that I remember. But it's, you know, pretty much looks like a car now, so that's exciting. So we're going to go ahead and call it for the night and carry on the weekend. Over here on the passenger side, I think I got it, at least as good as I'm going to get it. You can see that it's just, I think you can see just a little bit proud here, not too bad, and then it gets proud here. Pretty much comes in here. The gap here I'm pretty happy with. The gap here I'm pretty happy with. You can see those bolts, but I don't know that I can really do anything about that. I'm a little concerned on the inside. You can see that gap that's in here. Hopefully the door card will fill in some of that, but that tells me why this is proud here. I don't know what to do about that. You know, I did put a new sill in, but that proudness starts before any of the work that I really did, so who knows. I do have a small shim in here that I made and painted in epoxy a while ago, but everything's tight. The door opens and closes. You gotta shut it. You gotta shut it pretty good, but it shuts and it doesn't move. So I think I'll play with the door card a little bit just to see how that comes out. So the door card's a little tricky. You can see there's a whole ton of holes back here. Some of them are just screw relief holes so that it doesn't poke through and show the screw holes through the vinyl. But the rest of the ones up top here, and you can see I got that little clip. No, you can't. Now you can. See, I got that little clip in there. Those are obviously to clip in the card to the door. And these things are little guys like that. If you can see that, so it's just a clip. This portion of it fits inside that hole, and then that sprung portion there fits, so it plugs into the door. The trick here is that these aren't all lined up perfectly, so the holes, when you put the clip in, if you can see this one, it kind of sets up a little bit. Sometimes you're going to have to put it down a little bit and kind of offset. This one's going to have to go kind of like this, so it gets a little hokey. So a lot of this is going to be trial and error to get all the holes and the clips all lined up, so I'm going to kind of come through that, but I should be able to get the door card on here, hopefully with no problem. You see the card here, pretty nice with the melted portions here, giving little ridges. And then this carpet piece here is for your knee, I guess is what they said. And this came out with the Mark II car. The Mark I's was just a straight shot there. Got all the clips aligned for the door card. Some of them are just, real straight, and then others you have to get a little wonky with. Some in the corners start to get at a pretty good angle from where the holes are, but they do all line up, so now I should be able to just kind of go ahead here and slowly work them in and kind of work my way across. All right, that didn't come out too bad at all. That's the door card. Fits pretty well. I did struggle with these clips in this corner over here. Just there's extra vinyl on the back, and the stapling gives it a little extra thickness for the clip to go over. So I struggled with that a little bit, but that's done. So now the hard part is putting the handles in, and what makes it hard is because these pins are not really easy to get to, and there's also springs in there. Let me show you. All right, here's the window crank and the opening mechanism. Shine these up with some steel wool. All right, well, sometimes I'm not always the smartest guy. So the springs here that I put on the outside of the door card should be on the inside. In my defense, the workshop manual showed it on the outside, but I didn't remember and look at pictures. So I'm going to fix that real quick, and I might get to the other door too here. So first things first, we're going to pull the door off. I have this is for a modern car, those little plastic dammits is what I call them, because the things are terrible for like the body moldings and stuff in the wheel arches and everything like that. I'm going to try to use this, try to protect this instead of using a flathead. All right, so I'm going to try to get away with not taking the door card all the way off. The only other thing I'm concerned with is this diameter of this, and it not contacting the cardboard that's behind there, so I might spin it around, even though the workshop manual shows it pointy end out. I really don't think it'll matter. Look on the diameter of this hole right here. There's no way that spring wouldn't punch through with that end, and I don't want that, because then it's just gonna tear it. So I'll put it in like this, put it on like that. So even though it's going to sink into the door a little bit, otherwise it's going to damage the door card. So it's interesting. All right, here's that one. Yeah, so just press in really hard and just use this. The taper's not real. These pins are not really an interference fit so much as they just kind of slide down in there, and then the escutcheon kind of stops them from falling out. So remember, this handle goes on facing down because you're going to pull it towards you sitting in the car to open the door. Tapered end down on the Alright, that one was even easier. Alright, so now that's in there properly. Looks a lot better. There's no gap, except now the door card's kind of, because of the padding, it kind of bulges around the escutcheon, kind of like that. You can see that there, and that's actually a pretty clean looking fit, I think. This still doesn't respond or doesn't rebound very well, but I'm not going to worry about that. And I also looked into how this is supposed to go, and essentially what it appears is that you split this a little bit, and this red piece will go up underneath the window, the windshield finisher, but then this just kind of hangs out loose, and that's to seal the soft top in when you want to put the soft top up. So that's kind of weird. And then these teardrop things do fit like this, sticking out, and that's the transition to capture and stop rain, hopefully from going down into there. But I'm not going to put those things on quite yet. All right, so that's what that door card looks like when it's all in and installed and nice and pretty. Happy with that. Got the driver's side door back off the car here, and I mentioned that I had to redo this spring thing here. So I'll show you how, at least I think it goes. So the door crank, I've showed you this, interfaces, there's a gear in here and interfaces with the big gear here. And the spring here, I assume, is to provide some assistance. So when this portion engages with the gear wheel here, the moon gear, this should be under tension. So the easiest way to do this, if you see this piece here, that's stationary, that doesn't turn as far as its orientation goes. So you got the spring. The spring is either going to go in like that, or it's going to go in like that, or there's a couple different ways this thing can go in. But you've got to get this thing under tension, and really the only way to do that is to line this up enough. I started it and got the hook portion around this, and then you just kind of bend it in, and you can get it in there. So now it's just a little bit sprung, but as you bring this around, it's going to get sprung pretty good. And you've got to get it started and then not let it go. Now, when I was first taking these apart, I didn't realize that the spring was kind of under tension as much as it was, and I remember letting this gear disengage from the planet gear, and the thing kind of flew apart and actually gave me a little boo-boo, and that's how I remember what was going on there. But so push this around here and get it under pretty good tension, and as soon as you can come around to engage it, as soon as you can engage it, get it engaged, and now it's kind of under tension quite a bit. So you can wind the thing all the way in and all the way out with it under tension. So I'm going to leave it like this for now, get it back inside the door here, get it bolted back up. One thing I've been horrible about during this whole entire restoration is writing stuff down and keeping track of stuff, and I don't know why I continue to not do that, but I did make up shims for these inside hinges when I fit the door the first time, and going through the bags just to make sure I have everything. I found that again, so I'm going to go ahead and put these hinges back on, and with the shims in them, and I've also marked the hinges with a T for top before I painted them and all that stuff. So at least I was kind of smart at one point in time, but then I kind of lose it. So I'm going to put these hinges on, and we'll take another shot at this door. All right, time to mount the door. As you can see, I got the little rubber seal on there. Did it the same way I did the other side. First thing first is you got to get the little pinch, the check strap clip in. That's a real pain in the rear because it's very easy to miss, and it's hard to line up. And I got it. Go ahead and sneak the door in here and get it on the latch. Alright, so now the door is relatively stable when it's on the latch here. And I'll go ahead and get these hinges mounted. So this is a check strap assembly for the driver's side door. I noticed that the door wasn't open very far, or as far as it should. And you can see that little these little jaws here. What they'll do is they'll splay open as you open the door, and it kind of grabs around the portion inside the door. Well, the bottom one's broke. So as the door was opening, it was not allowing it to open at all, and not allowing the door to open so far. So you can get these. I don't know if I have one from the black car or not, but you can get these, and I may have to order one of those because I can tell trying to get in the car is not that easy. So in total, there are 21 of these little clips. But this is one of those things where you want to order some extras, because you would kick yourself if you ordered one short and you didn't have it. So I think I ordered probably 25 per door. I think I ordered 50 total. All right, looking good. Time for the pins and the handles and the escutcheons. All right, well, I just ran into a little problem here. I can't push the door because the check strap's not here, stopping the door. I can't push it any further because what it's doing is starting to run into the bonnet, and I'm going to start denting stuff and marking up paint. So I will wait on the escutcheons and all that kind of stuff until I get the check strap. I'm not going to worry about putting the old one in. This won't take too long. It's not that big of a deal. So, but there you go. Do a final go around on the gaps here on the backs. You can see that that opens up. I've always had that problem. Comes down, closes up, always had that problem. Doesn't sit proud at all of the body, however, so that's good. If anything in the front there, it's a little sunken in, but the door actually came out pretty good. On the passenger side, however, you can see it starts to get proud there and stays proud pretty much until it starts to go forward. I'm not quite sure how to fix that or if I can. It's something I'll look into, but for now, I'm happy with where everything sits. Yep, it's far from perfect, but it shuts. Has to lift up quite a bit, but if I move the rocker plate and the burst plate on the door too much, it doesn't work too well. But hey, I'll tell you what, it feels good sitting in this car with these open. Alright guys, that's all I got. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment below, tell me what you think. Well, she's almost a car. She's got doors. They're not perfect, but they're doors. Everybody be safe and be healthy. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.